Hi, Sweet Pea.
Hi, Mummy Bear.
We have episode 58 of Chit-Chats.
We do with Ash Whiffin.
Ash Whiffin, the entomologist, who is on
Yes.
Gardener's World last year now. We have to say last year, and we should mention that we recorded this episode actually in 2025. So all our references, when we keep saying this year, what we now mean,
Yes.
now it's
Is
2026, as it was last year.
Last year. Yeah,
But
exactly.
she was on
Confusing.
episode 26 of Gardener's World 2025.
Yes.
And she is from the National Museum's Collection Centre up in Scotland. And she did all that amazing work with setting up some wildflower meadows around their offices, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And we got to see her with her little study kit that she had wrapped around her.
Yeah, which we talked about.
Checking out all the bugs, all the flying insects mostly that they have managed to attract to that area. Yeah. So we talk about all of that in a lot more detail, don't we? And it's fascinating.
Yeah, the whole job.
Our first entomologist.
I know.
And it was so interesting to hear how Ash got into entomology in the first place.
The route.
A really, really interesting route.
Oh, I personally really, really love this because it's my I mean, you'll hear me probably.
Yeah. We don't need to say any more.
No,
you'll hear how much Sweet Pea loved that.
Yeah, exactly.
But we also find out about some of the different insects, and we do at one point talk about the leaf mining insect that keeps, Ash says they keep part of the leaf alive, and we were all sort of pondering on what's actually involved in that.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, let me tell you, Sweet Pea. So,
cool.
leaf mining insects, specifically some species of moths and flies, they keep the immediate area of the leaf around their mine alive by actually using symbiotic bacteria in their gut that produces a plant hormone.
Oh, that is awesome.
And
that's really cool.
This hormone is called cytokinin. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah, I sure have.
And that basically prevents the normal process of leaf aging and browning in that specific area. So they do keep that little patch of their leaf alive. It's amazing, isn't it?
That is very cool. I like that. How amazing to be able to keep the surrounding area, just the surrounding area, alive.
Really incredible. It is that beautiful symbiosis, isn't it, between plant and animal.
Love that.
So fascinating. But that's one of the many things we talk about. And as I say, just a really interesting chat.
Yeah.
So,
great.
Sweet Pea, tell us the format.
So, for Ash's Dream Garden, we have the garden boundary, shed or greenhouse, 5 ornamentals, 5 edibles, 1 statement tree, pond or pool plus 1 plant, and finally the seating area, the drink to have, and a plant for that area.
That's it. And we've put all links on our website, which is Sweet Pea.
Notjustagarden.co.uk.
On the gardens page of our website. And you can find Ash on the Rogues Gallery on the Chit-Chats page.
Yeah.
And if you would like to get in touch with us about anything we've discussed, or if you have any questions for us or for our guest, then please do drop us a message. You can do that also through our website, notjustgarden.co.uk. Go to the contacts page.
Yeah.
Or you could do it via email at notjustagarden@outlook.com.
Exactly.
Rightio, Sweet Pea, let's dive into this episode, shall we?
Absolutely.
This is episode 58, a good old chit-chat with Ash Whiffin.
Get your bug on.
Welcome, Ash, to Good Ol Chit-Chat.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, we're absolutely delighted to have you because you are our first entomologist.
It is.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't know that. Oh, that's very exciting. Thank you.
It is really exciting.
It's great.
So we're very much looking forward to hearing about your dream garden. So you were on Gardener's World this year. I think it was episode 26. And you were up in Scotland.
Yeah,
in Edinburgh,
that's where I'm based. Yeah, at the National Museum's Collection Centre.
And you're a curator there?
I am. I'm a curator of entomology, so specifically looking after the insects.
Right. Okay. And we saw a little bit of you inside where you were pulling out trays of beautiful insects, but mostly you were wandering around some quite sort of wildflower areas that you have created around the site there.
Yeah.
So what was the setup prior to you just letting it go wild for the insects, presumably?
Oh, it was pretty bleak, to be honest.
Was it?
So the site, if you can envision it, it is a very industrial looking site with various buildings that are sort of warehouses and storage facilities for the various collections that the National Museum of Scotland hold.
Are you on an industrial?
Yeah, there's housing very close by, but a lot
Yeah.
of the area was industry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the small amount of green spaces between the buildings were just grassed, monocultures of grass that were cut very, very neatly, manicured throughout the growing season. So nothing was really given any opportunity to flower. You know, maybe a few daisies and dandelions between the cuts, but not very much else. Several years back, some colleagues did spot that we had orchids on site, though. So a
Oh,
few of us
beautiful.
would run outside when the contractors would come to visit and say, "No, don't cut those purple flowers, please."
Oh no.
And I kind of thought this was madness. So I was sort of doing a campaign solo to say, let's be doing more with this space. And then it was only when the lockdowns happened during the COVID pandemic and our contractors didn't come in for a period of time that we got to see what could happen, what was there naturally. And that really gave us the push that we needed to start doing this officially and changing the management practices. So a silver lining of that time.
Absolutely, it was for a lot of wildlife,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Did you have
entirely.
much red tape to get through? Because presumably there's some sort of maintenance that's required around those areas, and you need to get other
Yeah.
companies on board, I guess, as well in the
Well,
area.
absolutely. So we did need to convince our senior management, convince them this was a good idea.
Yeah.
Obviously, as a museum, we have an opportunity to be highlighting our work to a wider audience. So we could be showing others what good practices can be done to support biodiversity. And as biodiversity is part of our research as well, we're constantly researching Scottish biodiversity, global biodiversity, to be doing that on our own doorstep. It seemed like a bit of a no-brainer, really.
Yeah, of course.
And urban biodiversity needs all the help it can get. With more and more development happening, we really need to maximise the potential of these green spaces that we've got. So even if it's a small strip of land between buildings, even if it's a really small front garden, there is potential there to be doing so much more to support our wildlife. And I think about it from the insect angle, but if you're helping the insects and the wild plants, then you're going to be supporting lots of other biodiversity as well. So we kind of talk about it at a wider scale. So yeah, we used that as an opportunity, convincing the higher ups that this was going to be a great idea. It supports our sustainability mission. It's going to be good practice showing our visitors and volunteers what we can do with a small space. And maybe, hopefully, the main goal was to be encouraging others to do something similar as well.
And are you seeing that?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
actually been
great.
brilliant in the local area. So we're in the north of Edinburgh in Granton, and there's quite a few community projects that are popping up, and some that have existed long before our own project. But now we're working together, and it's kind of got a really
Oh,
lovely feel that we're
great.
connecting these little pockets of green
Yeah.
space within that
Fab.
area of the city. Some other museums around the country are also doing similar now with their green spaces, and so yeah, it's been
That's
brilliant to hear
fantastic.
about other people's work as well.
So it's just been growing then.
Yeah.
We heard some interesting statistics on a few of the Gardener's World episodes this year. There was Bill Bailey. He was talking about how in the past 30 years we've lost 70% of our swifts. And then Adam Frost was on just the other week saying that in the past 45 years we've lost 60% of our house sparrows.
Yeah.
Then you said in the last 20 years we've lost 60% of our flying insects.
Yeah, that's right.
What do you attribute that to?
It is a combination of things. So obviously there's a lot of habitat loss, and that's through development and other transformation of different areas of land for different things, taking it away from biodiversity, but also the application of pesticides, herbicides.
Right.
Also, there is the issue of other species that are going to be out competing our native species, so those that are invasive alien species. And climate too is a big one. So with the climate changing, insects particularly are quite sensitive to the temperature. So they exist within these temperature ranges. So they have a lower limit, a cold temperature that they can withstand, and a higher temperature limit that they can withstand. And they really exist between those two, and at the either end of this spectrum, they can't exist, they can't reproduce, they can't survive. So this is why we're seeing a lot of insects now, their distribution's changing, and we're finding things a lot more in Scotland that never used to occur here because it's warming up in Scotland.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And if you think about what's happening in the south, that means that insects that are predominantly southern species can't exist there anymore. So their distributions are moving, and what will happen is eventually the species that are the colder tolerant ones, the ones that live in the mountaintops in Scotland, they won't be able to exist there anymore. So this is where we'll see extinctions.
That's very sad, isn't it? One of
Mm.
the things that we hear about is ticks, for example, that are
Yeah.
flourishing on account of climate change. So
Yeah.
because it's not getting so cold, they're
Yeah.
continuing to reproduce even in the traditionally colder months, whereas
Yeah.
previously they would have gone more dormant during that time.
Yeah, that's
Slash
it.
died as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there are there many other insects you see that are flourishing on account of our climate change?
Oh, that's a hard one to think of off the top of my head.
Just the bloomin' ticks.
Of course, we'll be noticing more the ones that have a negative impact on us,
Yeah.
less than those that are having doing lots of beneficial things for us. There are some winners and losers, and if you go to places like the Butterfly Conservation website, you'll be able to get a lot more detail on the different species that are being negatively impacted and those that are being positively impacted. So some, as I mentioned, they're able to expand their ranges, and for now that might be a good thing. We're seeing more of them. Something like the speckled wood butterfly, is that one that you've seen in your garden at all?
What
It's
describe
a
that
lovely
one?
Yeah.
brown butterfly that's got these cream and slightly yellow, pale yellow spots all over the wings, hence why it's called speckled wood. And they have the distribution of that species has spread as well as orange tip butterflies. That's one that we see in the
Yes.
springtime, and the males have got these beautiful orange spots on their wings. And that's a species that we didn't used to get up in Scotland, and now it's everywhere.
It's prevalent,
Oh,
is it?
crikey, yeah.
Interesting. You mentioned that it was flying insects. Is that so? Why just flying insects?
That's where a lot of the research has been in. So flying insects are generally a bit easier to monitor than certain other groups. So a lot of this research was done using things like malaise traps, and we have one of these on our grounds at the collection centre, and that looks a bit like a tent. Apart from it's pretty useless from keeping you protected from the elements because it's open on both sides. So flying insects are channeled in, and they're funneled into a collecting chamber. So this is a way of monitoring all those little flying insects that might be difficult to see otherwise. And then through surveying. So if you're out doing a transect, like a butterfly transect or something, you're observing the butterflies. And obviously it's a lot easier to monitor butterflies than it is to monitor some very tiny 4 millimeter long beetle that's hidden in the undergrowth. So I think that's the reason why the focus has been on the flying insects there, just because we've got a lot more data about them.
Yeah.
And we still have a lot to do in terms of looking at the invertebrates and insects that are living in our soil and our leaf litter. It's a bit more challenging to identify some of those ones sometimes.
Right. And then in terms of non-native species that are coming in, what are some examples? There's the ladybirds is one that's always mentioned. There's quite a variety of non-natives that come in. And we're told to squash some and not squash others. What do you recommend?
Oh, it's a tricky one. I feel quite mixed about that because most people don't know how to identify insects, and to your general member of the public, I'm sure lots of our ladybirds look identical. So how do you know that you're squashing the right one? And we don't really want to be telling people to go and squash our 7 spots because they're native and they're wonderful. So yeah, the harlequin ladybird is the really problematic one, and it has been shown to be quite detrimental for our 7 spots and other species because it is very competitive. So it's eating the food. The harlequin is the one. So 7 spot is our larger ladybird, red with the black 7 spots. But the harlequin's a trickster, so it can actually look like a lot of different ladybirds. It comes in a variety of different colour forms.
Oh, right.
Come on.
Definitely recommend having a little look, doing a little search on the internet and seeing the variety, because they can be black with red spots, they can be orange with black spots. All sorts of different patterning, so it can make them trickier to identify.
Okay.
And they outcompete just by taking over resources.
Yeah,
food
they're
sources.
also eating aphids and things that the 7 spots would be eating. So yeah, they're taking food away from them.
That's sad, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
What other species are there that we should look out for?
You'll probably be hearing a lot about hornets. The hornet that is not
Asian
native
hornets.
here. are predominantly an issue in the south of England at the moment. And again, there might be a lot of information out there to say, to kill these if you see them, or to report them. I would say to report them, get photographs, because again, you might be making a mistake. You might not be killing the right one. And our European hornet is a wonderful beneficial insect. So hornets are predatory, and they are obviously feeding on other insects. They're taking insects back to their nests to feed the young, but they are helping maintain balance in our ecosystem. So we need a lot of predatory species, and I think wasps in particular get a lot of bad
They get a
PR.
hard rap, don't they?
They do, and it's really unfair because they're very beneficial insects. So, and most importantly, they're predators, so they're helping maintain that balance in our ecosystems. But they're also incidental pollinators because they're also visiting flowers and doing that job too. So I don't get enough respect.
Interesting how they have a hard rap. I remember when even bees had a bit of a tough time because through sheer ignorance, people were concerned about obviously being stung by a bee. That's all they associated bees with and didn't consider anything else. I think education has moved forward so much in more recent years that we love the bee. Everyone loves bees. That we don't even think about the sting of a bee. Let's protect bees. Not just honeybees, but the sort of wealth of other beautiful bees that exist.
Exactly.
And so we need more education around wasps. At the moment, they're considered a pest at a barbecue. But we've learnt to love wasps. I mean, sweet peas. We'll agree to disagree, will we, sweet pea?
I'm only doing that face because I have tried to love them so much, but I've been stung 8 times on my hands.
The issue is wasps love sweet pea. She gets stung a lot for doing absolutely nothing.
Same with mosquitoes. Anything that wants to sting me. Oh, spider bites. They seem to love me because I'm full of them.
Bitten all the time.
Yeah, it's quite ridiculous.
You're a very tasty snack then.
Apparently
very tasty.
Apparently so.
Well, the thing with wasps, that when they're most, what people would say aggressive, is at the end of the season, and basically they're booted out of the nest. The workers don't survive, so they're homeless and hungry, and they're out looking for a sugary snack. And so they will bother us if we've got things that are of interest. But I usually would just leave a little bit to the side, and that can be their portion, and then I've got my portion.
That does work well.
I use social media a lot to try to talk about some of these maligned insects and the ones that people are a bit scared of, to show them how harmless they are. So I do moth trapping, where I run a light trap to look at the nocturnal insects that are in the area. That's great fun because in the morning you wake up very, very early, obscenely early sometimes, like 5 a.m. And you're able to have that close-up opportunity to see these moths and other insects in the trap and hold them, because it's very cold in the morning. They're night active, so they're not going to fly off so easily, and it's a wonderful opportunity to see them, especially the big, beautiful, colourful moths. It's a lovely thing to do. But
it's like a treasure hoard, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It is, with all the egg cartons as well, and you're gently looking. I did those with my granddad so much.
You've done a lot of
wonderful memories.
Loads of them. We even started kind of raising caterpillars that we'd find, and we're looking after them to watch the whole cycle of moth caterpillars and
privet hawk moths.
Privet hawk moths, we did quite a few of those.
Well, what I'm hearing is that I'm not really the first entomologist then, Sweet Pea. Sounds like you've caught the bug a little bit.
I do, definitely the bug. Nice pun.
I always sneak that one in.
Use that one a lot,
yeah. But the other thing, as well as moths in the trap, then, as you might have experienced, is that you do get beetles and other things, but sometimes wasps. So when the moths are really dozy and sleepy and calm, that's when I pick them up on my hands. And I've had hornets as well in the trap, and I just show people that they can be very gentle animals. So
well, your social media is wonderful. We picked up on that when we recapped your episode. Absolutely love your Instagram page, and particularly the one you do with the "Get Ready with Me" of the butterfly. I was hilarious. In stitches, Ash. Honestly,
it's silly.
So funny. But you got the timing, you got the intonation, everything just right. It's just like an influencer's "Get Ready with Me," but with this beautiful
butterfly, gorgeous.
Genuinely laughing out loud with that.
That's so cool.
But what is your background then in terms of education and how you got to
start?
Did you, when you were little, did you say, when I grow up I want to be an entomologist?
No, I remember playing with bugs in the garden. I pick all sorts of things up. I was out in the garden quite a lot, and I think my grandparents had an influence on me there as well. I remember playing in the garden with my granddad, and he had a greenhouse, and behind the greenhouse we'd go and look in the frog bucket and see what frogs were there. It was like a mini pond. I remember trying to catch butterflies in the garden. I remember playing with woodlice, and actually my most special memory in my grandparents' garden was playing with stag beetles.
Yes.
Oh
Like
my
the
gosh, cool.
big stag beetles, Licanus cervus, and that is an insect that is it's not doing so well. It's very scarce in the UK. There's several initiatives to try to monitor stag beetles and improve habitat for them. So encouraging people to create log piles, leave dead wood, because that's what their larvae need. But the stag beetles were there every summer, and I remember even getting them to try and like grip onto a stick and then sort of swing them around. And I had absolutely no idea of how special these beetles were at the time, but I haven't seen a live one since I was a kid.
Really?
Because I now live up in Scotland and we don't get them there. And although my family are still in the south of England, they've moved from the area that I was in when I was a child, and we just don't have them here.
No.
I have encouraged my parents to have a stumpery. They've got logs, they've got lovely deadwood habitat, but we've not seen any beetles yet. Not those beetles anyway. Lots of others.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a very special memory for me. I've gone off on a slight tangent now. How did I start? So yeah, I definitely had a fondness for them, but then I moved away from that, and I think I probably went through a phase where I thought insects were a bit gross.
Right.
I was probably going a bit mainstream and a bit, following the crowd, following my friends. But it was when I was a teenager and I was doing my GCSEs and thinking about what I was going to go on to next. I always enjoyed science, I enjoyed biology, but I also really liked art. So I felt, and I was told, which is not necessarily good advice, and I would not say it myself, I was told that I had to choose. I couldn't do both art and science. I think that's totally wrong. I could have been a scientific illustrator or something.
Yeah, they go hand in hand.
Yes, so much so.
Things.
We need the arts and we need artists to be able to convey stories and information about the natural world that scientists aren't very good at doing. So I work with artists quite a lot now. And I don't know if that's because I have I get enjoyment from it myself, but I see the value in it so much. But anyway, I followed the sciences and I became a bit obsessed with forensic science, and I thought that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a crime scene investigator.
Yes.
Yeah, I got addicted to that at one
Did
point.
you?
Actually.
Yeah.
I watched a lot of CSI. I think that was the reason.
Yes.
But we did have a friend of the family is a fingerprint expert, and she worked at Surrey Police headquarters. So she took me into work one day, and I thought, this is amazing. I would love to do this. So I went and did forensic science at university.
That must be really interesting.
Wow.
It was awesome. I struggled with the chemistry, I won't lie, and I knew that wasn't the bit that I was most interested in.
Chemistry's so hard, though.
Yeah.
It's awful.
I loved all the practical elements, though, where we could take the biological sciences that we learnt about in the earlier days and see how that was beneficial in this applied form. So I loved all of it. But at the end of my first year, I was reintroduced to insects and how insects can be used in crimes and act as evidence. And this is particularly when you're trying to work out a timescale. If you want to find out how long somebody has been dead for and there are insects on the body, you can use those insects to establish the time since death. So they're giving you a timeline.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant.
So that's when you started to think,
correlations.
Insects.
Oh, was that it? From that point on, you were just like, right, this is.
I had one lecture and then it was it. I wanted to do forensic entomology. So my second and third year, I was obsessed with that. And it sounds very morbid, but just to see how insects were taking this really awful, horrible habitat, and they were creating new life from it. So, that's their thing. That's what they do. They turn some decaying organic matter into new life. They are nature's recycling team. They're helping break it down and reuse all that nutrients and energy. So,
well, we're grateful for that because we had a rat problem here. And
really?
The rats have died, and we then have had a huge influx of flies.
Oh my gosh!
And I've tried to explain to Sweet Pea that whilst it's not particularly pleasant, we should be grateful because otherwise we just have a load of rotting rats around the place. So we could smell the rat. It was in my bedroom ceiling. We could smell it.
It was not nice.
So then I said, we need the flies to come now because otherwise this could start dripping through my ceiling.
I mean,
please,
how
flies,
gruesome
come.
do you want to describe this? We can
That's
go
the
to
reality.
levels.
And lo and behold, the flies came. We had a
And-
huge amount of them, and the smell slowly went. So
Yeah.
It's all good
nature
now.
doing its thing.
Yeah.
Insects are amazing.
Very important.
I think so many people don't know that these processes are happening. They're just taking these things for granted. But really, if we didn't have our blowflies, if we didn't have our carrion beetles, our dung beetles, imagine going out for a walk.
You wouldn't be able to move.
The place would be
Awful.
For
disgusting.
bodies and poo.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be pretty grim.
They're doing an absolutely incredible job for us, and it goes completely unappreciated most of the time.
Yeah.
So you did forensic entomology.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that a degree in itself, or is that part of the forensics?
It ended up being part of my forensic science degree. So I specialised in my final year, and I did my final year research project on that theme. I was putting out dead rabbits and monitoring the insects that were arriving. I was looking at the effects of wrappings on dead bodies, and if
amazing
wrapping them in black sacks or cotton bed sheets had any difference in the insects that were able to access the bodies.
Cool.
Did you look into the best way to discard a dead body?
It really sounds like that was my mission, doesn't it? I'm not trying to encourage anybody at all. That wasn't the goal there. It was to be able to then make better estimates. So more accurate estimates of what insects you would be getting if these were the scenarios that you found. Obviously, I was just an undergrad, so this wasn't groundbreaking, and it wasn't actually published in the end. But I loved doing this work so much that I stayed on after my degree to do a bit of an internship with my supervisor, and she took a slight. She went on a slightly different direction here, and we were looking at the applications of the resins and things that the ancient Egyptians used. So we went off onto a bit of an anthropological route, I guess. And we were, again, putting lots of carcasses out and testing these resins to see what effects they had as a deterrent. Because obviously they were trying to preserve bodies, and they didn't want the insects to be eating them. So we were testing the pine resins using ingredients that the Egyptians used at that time.
Interesting.
So that was great fun as well.
What did you establish? What was the best resin to use to protect?
We established that it wasn't a very good idea to do it in Britain and expose our carcasses to the elements, because that wasn't very true of what the Egyptians would be doing. They were keeping them in very dry environments, of course.
Yeah.
So our pine resins did wash off in the middle of Derbyshire in the rainy summer.
Right.
But no, they did deter the insect activity by several days. I think it was about a week actually, and we did publish that research in the end.
Interesting.
So I found from both my undergraduate degree and that little project that I was much more interested with the insects themselves than the forensic element. And so I was pushed or encouraged by one of my supervisors to go and do a master's, and that was just in entomology. So it was relearning just learning more about insects really, and all the basics about the taxonomy of insects, the biology and ecology of them, learning how to survey for them, learning about pest insects and how we can use pest management and basically use insects to manage other insects rather than using chemicals. And also I had to learn things like stats and things like that, which I didn't really enjoy. But it was a great course, and it opened up some doors for me that then led me to the career that I have now. So we were guest lectured by entomologists from the Natural History Museum. I begged to go and volunteer with them after my course, and I did that for about 5 or 6 months and was applying for lots of jobs, and something came up in Edinburgh working on beetles. So that's what brought me up there.
That's so interesting to hear, and I think very inspiring for anyone who's interested in getting into entomology.
Very cool.
Are you using any of your art in your entomology? Or is there just no time?
So when I did art, I was doing a lot of drawing and a bit of painting. I'd say that I'm still very artistic, and I maybe use my creative side in a different way. So I guess that part of the job as a curator, I'm looking after this big collection of insects. We have over 2.5 million insect specimens at the National Museum of
Wow.
Scotland.
My gosh.
Yeah, and there's just 2 of us working with the collection as well, so it's about 1 million each. Yeah,
It's your million, that's my million.
yeah.
Yes.
Beetles for me, flies for you.
Yeah.
No, I like all insects, but we work with a variety of different people with the collection. It's probably one of my favourite parts of the job is I get to meet all sorts of wonderful, interesting people. So we host about 200, 250 visitors to the collection behind the scenes, and they might be researchers that are looking at a particular group of insects with a particular research focus, but they might be students that are just learning the ropes with identification, and the collection is a really fantastic resource for helping you identify things that you're finding now. They might be other museum professionals learning different techniques or coming to chat to us about storage and museum nerdery. Or they might be visitors of the general public. So we also host tours behind the scenes.
Okay.
If you're interested, check out the website.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
sure
so
will.
I meet a lot of people, and every year I probably host like about 10 different artists to the collection, and often they're students. And we don't necessarily collaborate, but more recently I've collaborated with a couple of students, and one in particular is an artist called Ed Harrison, and he's an illustrator and does papercraft. And he's done a wonderful project recently called Wild Wings of Hope, and that's looking at insects and birds that migrate between Scotland and Africa, and about connecting these 2 places, and really emphasising that these borders that we've created are so artificial because the wildlife doesn't see them, and migration is really a key element of their lives. That's how they exist. So that's a really beautiful piece that I've been involved in, and I love working with the artists, and I think it always rubs off on me slightly. So working with Ed, we ran some public events during the October half term, and he had his beautiful papercraft activities and displays, and I pulled together a draw of migratory insects. So I get to obviously work on our permanent displays and any exhibitions when they come up, and I get to be creative there. But I can also make these temporary displays that we just use for one-off events. So like the Wild Wings of Hope event. So I pulled together specimens from the collection that were migratory species, and we had things like, of course, the monarch butterfly that probably everybody knows about because it has these amazing migrations from as far north as Canada, down through the US into Mexico to the mountains where they overwinter in their millions in these huge clusters. And I actually, side note, I did get to go and see them this year, and it was one of my highlights of 2025.
Did you?
Seriously?
In February, which is the best time to go and see them. We were there for a holiday. And I said to my husband, like, please, like, we really, really have to. This is perfect. Like, it's the right time of year. So we just did a day trip out to the mountains, and it was very moving and everything I hoped it would be. We arrived and it was cold and a bit cloudy because you are up in the hills. And they were just there, like hanging in these big clusters on the branches from the fir trees.
Oh my gosh, wow.
And I was like, wow, okay, that's amazing. But at the same time, I was like, I really want to see them flying around. And then the sun came out, and the place transformed, and the piles, these sort of clusters of butterflies started moving, like rippling. And then as they slowly were warming up their wings, they began to fly. And these clusters just erupted, and the sky was full of butterflies, and they were just sort of flying all around us.
Magical.
At one point, a squirrel landed on one of these branches, and a big like wave of butterflies just moved all at once. It was so magical. I did sort of get tears in my eyes at one point. So
I can imagine what a wonderful thing to experience firsthand, because we
really
see it
special
on things like Planet Earth, but to actually see it in the flesh must have been amazing.
Yeah, I loved it.
So
It would have been
really
rude to
special.
go there and not go up into the hills.
Absolutely. Or to go at the wrong time of year and to have missed
that's
them.
no good.
Yeah, that would be rubbish.
So everybody knows, most people would know about the monarch butterfly. They're very famous. But we have species that arrive in the UK every year that people don't realise are also making an incredible journey. So you have things like the painted ladies, the red admirals, and they are migrating, all the way from us. So I'm up in Scotland, so they're moving from Scotland all the way down to Northern Africa, which is an incredible distance.
Unbelievable.
So that's a greater distance than some of the monarchs are migrating. But what they're not doing is they're not having those impressive clusters. So they're not clustering in the same way, which is probably why they're not as
Right. Oh, okay.
as impressive to some people. But distance-wise, remarkable.
This is a really naive question, but how are you tagging an insect to find out its migratory
So
path?
they're actually they're using radar to like, the way that they look at the weather. They're doing that to look at these big insect migrations. Some people are tagging certain insects now as well, but it's predominantly been using that to kind of map the spread and the movement of these insects, and they're moving at very high elevations as well. So we're not necessarily seeing that ourselves.
No.
But you can sometimes notice the big influx when they arrive. And this is also true of some of our hoverflies. So one hoverfly, poor hoverflies again, maybe getting a bad bit of PR because they look like wasps. So some people mistake them for wasps. But
when they're the cutest things
they're
ever.
like hummingbirds, aren't they?
They're amazing.
They always come and stare at me.
They do stare at
hovering,
you.
Just staring at me, don't they, Sue?
Just checking you out.
Totally intrigued. Oh, they're so cute.
They're wonderful. Again, amazing beneficial insects because they're pollinators. And some of their larvae are also predatory. So some of the hoverfly larvae are feeding on aphids and things. They're great things to have in the garden.
I didn't know that.
But what I was going to say was that some of them are migratory. So the marmalade hoverfly, which is this lovely tiny hoverfly that gets its nickname because it's got these lines along its abdomen of black, orange, and yellow, and it kind of looks like cups of marmalade. I don't know if you use your imagination. And they're doing a similar migration. They're going from the UK across Europe down through like the Pyrenees, and they're going, some of them making it as far as Northern Africa.
Wow.
These tiny little things.
Incredible.
Yeah. Wow. So they're using the wind, they're using the air currents. But what's remarkable is that the females wait until the wind is going in the right direction and before they take off. Otherwise they don't want to be blown in the wrong direction. Mm-hmm. So they're using a lot of cues from their environment to know how to do this at the right time.
It's like those slipstreams that you get in the water for turtles as well.
Oh, for turtles, yes, that's a good point.
Using those.
It's mind-blowing, isn't it? Like I just can't imagine this little hoverfly making that distance.
I know.
Surely there are easier things they could do. Can't they just find a warmer part of Scotland?
That doesn't really exist, and this is the problem. And at the moment we're in winter, so a lot of people will ask me about, well, where are the insects in the winter? You've got a couple of strategies if you're an insect. You're either going to overwinter and find somewhere nice and warm and snuggly under a rotting log, nice blanket of moss or something, or maybe if you're a butterfly, of the few ones that do stick around, you might go and find somebody's shed or a nice loose bit of bark on an old tree or something, and then you're just going to survive, and you're going to stay sort of in that same place over the winter,
just hunker
down and wait till it gets warmer. The other thing you might do is you might be an insect that's got some funky blood, and you might be freeze tolerant, so you might have a bit of antifreeze in your blood, and therefore you can still stay active, and you can go out and move around and still look for food and things. It's not as common, but there are some insects in the UK that do that.
What sort of insects do that?
One example of this would be snow fleas. We get these in the UK. They're actually tiny scorpion flies, and you can find them literally walking across snow, hence the name. Not to be confused with in America, these are actually springtails. They're not scorpion flies, but they go by the same name. This is the trouble we have with common names. Scientific names are important, but common names can be quite confusing at times.
Yeah, I think even in just the same country, you can have with plants, for example. We come across plants that have the same name but are completely different.
I know.
So same common name but are completely different plants.
Yeah.
So are you calling all your insects by their Latin name?
Not always. There's a lot of them to remember. But there's a lot of insects.
2.5 million.
There's 24,000 species in the UK, I think, that we have.
Right.
And of course, many of them don't have common names. When you think about, we've got over 4,000 beetles in the UK. Most of them don't have common names. They're incredibly small. So, and of flies, we've got over 7,000 species of fly in the UK, and lots of those don't have common names.
Fly one, fly two.
They're very useful. But if you think about it, I mean, as gardeners, you learn scientific names for lots of plants without realizing that they're the scientific names. In dinosaurs, kids learn dinosaur names from a very young age,
This
and
is
those
true,
are the Latin, the scientific names.
That's a very good point.
I think they can sometimes feel a bit scary, a bit difficult to pronounce.
Just a bit.
But I would just say, give it a go. Just give it a go. We're all saying it slightly differently, and we work out eventually what we're on about.
Exactly.
So the three types. So you could be overwintering, you could have antifreeze in your blood, or you just move. You go find somewhere else that's still warm and that's still got food for you. So that's what these migratory insects are doing. They're choosing to move, choosing to find somewhere where they can still remain active and feed. So that's why they're moving south and they're going to those warmer places.
Okay.
Gosh, what a fascinating world.
Could I quickly go back though, because I realise I do this, I'll go off on a tangent, and what I didn't do was answer your original question there. So you asked me about art.
Oh my gosh, yes, let's go back to your art.
So what I was going to say was that we've been involved with this lovely project recently about migrating insects. So I can work on the displays and exhibitions at the museum, but I can also create these temporary displays. And so when we've got one-off events and there's a particular theme, I can take specimens from the collection and arrange them in a small display. And I think when I first started doing this, it was probably a little bit boring. I was probably just putting them into boxes and it was a bit organized. Just like in the way that we keep the collection very neat and organized. But for this recent one, I actually designed a bit more of an interesting and creative display. So I had the butterflies and moths that are migratory in this kind of swirl, and then I annotated it with facts around the outside. And I find it useful to do that, to have a little bit of interpretation, a bit of information in the drawer, because at these events sometimes you can be a bit swamped with visitors, and if I'm engaging some like young family on one side, I want to be able to not lose the other visitors that are there. So if they can linger and read some of the facts, then they might stay whilst I have time to finish up with the others. I really like doing that, creating little temporary displays, working with artists that come to visit the collection. And I guess some of what I do with social media is quite creative as well. So
it is,
I love photography. I'm not a good photographer. A lot of what I do is just with the cheap clip-on lens for my iPhone. But I love being able to get down on their level and kind of see the world through bugs' eyes, and look at all the little details.
You mentioned a cheap clip-on lens, so this is to get a close-up to a really small
macro
object. What is that lens then?
There's various different brands around. I think I got my first one for about £12 online. They just
I didn't know these existed.
Like a peg onto your camera. I mean, well, in the last 5 years, mobile phones cameras have improved massively, and some have a macro feature inbuilt, so you maybe don't need these anymore. But it really is just like a little magnifier. And a very basic way of doing this is to get just a hand lens and hold it to the back of your phone.
Okay.
Now, the only tricky thing is that you need to have a very willing subject. So you need to get an insect that's not going to fly off. And you need to carefully approach them very, very stealthily.
Yes.
And often the antenna will be out of focus because they're constantly wiggling around and smelling what you're up to. So
macro photography is not
it's
the
a challenge,
is it?
I've got a lot of respect for the professional macro photographers out there.
I don't think you realise how much goes into macro photography until you see someone at work. But on Gardener's World, you were carrying what I described as your handbag around the place. I'm assuming that is full of all sorts of interesting equipment for viewing your little bug friends.
Yes.
What do you have in that bag?
My fieldwork,
because it was never mentioned.
No, it's a bum bag. So that bag contains lots of little tubes for putting insects in. It contains my hand lens to get a closer look at some of the details of the insects. It contains like a scale bar, a little card that's got a scale bar on. So if I see things like animal scat or footprints or any kind of other wildlife thing, I can put it down and take a photograph. It's really helpful sometimes to have a scale bar or some sense of scale with an image. It's also got hand sanitizer and gloves and things, because I'm an entomologist that is most interested in the kind of grotty and disgusting groups of insects are like the ones that are attracted to dung or dead bodies. So I've always got gloves in my bag, because obviously there's health and safety concerns when you're entomologizing in those sorts of areas.
So, to start off your dream garden, what would be the garden boundary, so surrounding your garden, if you want one at all?
Definitely. I think boundaries are quite good. It's a great opportunity here to create some habitat, and I would love to have some great hedges.
Yeah.
So mixed hedges, probably. I do love to see a beech hedge. Just visually, they're quite nice, especially in the autumn. And a great chance to spot some of the leaf mining insects in the autumn. Have you ever found a beech leaf that's gone all brown, but the centre of it is bright green and yellow, and there's like a patch in it?
Oh, yes.
Look out for that. That will be a leaf mining insect in the leaf.
What, sort of under the sort of outer layer?
So that some insects, you've got flies and moths that do this. They live between the layers of the leaf.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's
and
so
they're
cool.
keeping part of the leaf alive until they're ready to drop out and pupate.
Oh, fantastic! And so they're not eating that leaf; they're just living in it.
No, they are.
They are eating
it.
And
sometimes,
if
you see a leaf, all sorts of different leaves, even nettles, sometimes you'll see a squiggly white line. You might initially think, oh, that's just a bit of like strange bird poo, but actually that's the evidence of a larva feeding within the leaf. We call them leaf mines.
You mentioned there that they're keeping the leaf alive.
Yeah,
I
don't know.
Mean by that?
I don't know how that process is working, but it is.
How amazing!
That's very, very cool.
Triggering that then.
So yeah, I'd like some beech hedge, but also I've got to have some holly in there. So
absolutely,
I'd quite like some holly, and maybe a bit of blackthorn, hawthorn, some spiky plants that have got that nice early blossom.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to have some berries. Got to have some berries in there.
So would you have hedging all the way around, surrounding your garden all the way around as a border or as a boundary, or would you sort of shake it up a little with some other things like deadwood?
Well, I'm going to have some deadwood in there. It would be lovely to have an old, I mean, this is a dream.
Yeah,
absolutely. To have a lovely old tree that's died, but to keep it as standing deadwood. So it's great to have piles of deadwood, but standing deadwood is really fantastic habitat. So really great for a lot of our beetles. So if there had been a wonderful old oak tree that had died, and that formed part of the boundary, that would be ideal.
Yeah.
So how does that differ from deadwood that if you just had some branches that you laid in a pile?
Yeah, so when you've got your wood that's on the ground, obviously it's going to be getting a lot more moisture in it, and it might decay. Well, it is going to decay at a different rate to wood that is standing. Right. So you've just got the life of the tree beyond the living part is much longer if it's still standing than if it was, lying down.
Okay. So would you get different types of insects in?
Yeah, you could get different beetles. Yeah, and it'll also be beneficial for nesting bees and all sorts of other things as well, using the little crevices and holes within the tree.
Then would you like a shed or a greenhouse if you had to choose?
I think it would be a greenhouse, mostly because of like having very fond memories of my granddad's greenhouse.
Yes.
And my parents have never had a greenhouse. So yeah, I would like one of those, and I think I would love to have lots of time to be growing things from seed, lots of wildflowers. I'd be planting lots of wildflowers up. But also a greenhouse would have a nice dual method, a dual purpose, and that if I was emptying the moth trap, I might take it in the greenhouse and empty it in there, because occasionally moths fly out and then they fly away and you never get to see what they were. But if you have it in the greenhouse, they would just land on the inside wall and you'd be able to take your photo or pick that moth up and then let it go. So I think that would be quite a useful thing as an entomologist.
That would be
greenhouse.
Good. And it'd be quite warm as well, so the moth wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, this is freezing cold.
Yeah.
Could you set up a greenhouse at just the right temperature so you could have your monarchs come and migrate to your greenhouse?
Yeah.
If you were in North America, yes. Not
so they're not
where
going to
fall
for it.
No.
Do you know we do
heated greenhouse?
We do get occasional visitors of monarch butterflies to the UK. They get blown off course. It's not very usual. It's not very common.
Oh, poor things.
Yeah. But people do rear caterpillars in greenhouses. So yeah, if you wanted
Yeah.
to be rearing some of our native species, so maybe
Mhm.
some of our whites, peacocks, or red admirals and things, yeah, you could
Mhm.
rear them inside. But equally, it's
Yeah.
just a good idea to provide lots of their favourite plants out in the garden.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that works
talking of
very
Of
well.
course.
things like that, you've got small tortoiseshells and things that like nettles. So I definitely have some nettles near my hedge and my boundary as
Definitely.
well.
Well, we're
Yeah.
doing that, aren't we?
Oh,
On
Hey.
purpose.
we have a, but
Just
they
happens.
are actually they are on purpose, sweet
They
pea.
are on purpose. Some are.
Some are. We have many that aren't, but yeah, we have a good load of nettles by our veg garden.
Bang.
That
Sits
is
kind of, we're
wonderful.
on a hill. It sits above our veg garden, and I like to keep those because I want it
Mm.
there for the butterflies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
really,
with
really
you-
good.
With your greenhouse, what sort of size would you be wanting in your dream garden, or even your dream garden? What size are we talking? Are we talking acres, or do you want something quite contained?
As big as
As
possible.
big as you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
As big as
I think
possible.
the initial bit near to the house would have kind of cottage garden vibes,
Yep.
and then it would be nicer to also have a big meadow. I've got to have a meadow, wildflower meadow in there.
Which
Yes.
country would you have it in?
Yeah,
Oh,
you could choose. We've had mishmashes as well, just so you know. We've had Spain mixed with Yorkshire. We've had the Andes mixed with
The
Oh,
Peak District, I
wow.
think,
Peak
wasn't it?
District. So there are people who have mishmashed seasons together because they like that
Ah.
one there and this one
okay,
here.
yeah. Well, I think I have to stick with the UK just because I would want my garden to have a real beneficial impact to our wildlife.
Mhm.
And we've lost so much of our wild spaces. And what is it? The wildflower meadows, we've lost like 97% of them. So
97%.
yeah,
Gosh, what are we
it's a
doing?
really horrific number. So I would like mine to either be in England or maybe in Scotland. But
Mhm.
I would like to be able to make that positive impact.
Yeah. Okay. Would you be by the coast, or would you be by a forest? What, or both? Or
Both, ideally, yeah. I love
Yeah.
the water, so I'd love to be on the
Forest
coast.
and
But I'd like to have
coast.
some woodland nearby as well because
Yeah.
there's good beetles in woodlands.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. And what style of greenhouse would you like? What
Oh, I
are
don't
you
think I
going
know
for?
enough about greenhouses. I would like it to be big enough that maybe two of us could be pottering around in there at the same time. But other than
And
that,
not be kind of
I
like
think,
squeezing
yeah,
past each other.
yeah.
Excuse me,
Yes.
excuse me.
Okay. Nice and big. Because there are some really beautiful old fashioned ones or the really modern ones with the brick
Okay.
layers.
Okay. I
those
quite like old
ones.
vibes. So
Yeah.
yeah, we can have it. I don't want it looking too modern.
Well then, my favourite bit. What would be 5 ornamentals for your dream garden?
I don't know that. So I haven't really planned that far in advance with this, have I? I'm, as you know, all about the wild plants and flowers. So this is a harder
Absolutely.
question for me. But there are some ornamentals that our insects do love. I mean, they're attracted to lots of them. They get lots of pollen and nectar from lots of them anyway.
But you can include wildflowers as your ornamentals. Really,
Yeah.
we just
Okay.
we're
It's a split
it's
between
just to split that
edibles
between
and ornamentals. So ornamentals you don't eat and edibles you do eat. So that's
But
really
we've
how we
also
split
had
it.
Mandy Barber from Incredible Vegetables, and she has a lot of ornamental
Vegetables.
edibles.
Oh, right. Yeah,
So
I didn't think about
it's
that.
really just to give you, so you can go wildflowers if you
Okay.
want to.
Well,
Yeah.
but I am going to pick some more traditional ornamentals first, then, just
Mhm.
because they are ones that some of my favourite insects like. So, lamb's ear.
Yes.
You know, it's got the
those.
gorgeous fluffy leaves. So my mum's always had
Stunning.
that in her garden, and when I
Yeah.
first got into entomology, I really started paying more attention to the plants that she had and what the insects were liking. And she had wool carder-bees. So wool
Yes.
carder-bees, they steal the fibres,
It's
the things
amazing.
that make these leaves really soft and fluffy. They steal the fibres from those, and the female uses it to construct her nests.
Which must be so fluffy.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, what a lovely cozy little nest she must make. So I would have that because that's good for those solitary bees. I
Absolutely.
also, something else that my mum's always had in her garden is grape hyacinths
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
with the lovely purple flowers.
Yeah.
And one of my favourite springtime insects are the bee flies. And bee flies quite
Oh my
like the
gosh.
blue coloured flowers.
They're the
Bee
cutest
flies are
things.
hilarious.
Amazing, aren't they? Just little these fluff balls.
Oh.
They
They
fly
are.
with the proboscis out. They don't retract it like a bee does. So they're
So
very
funny.
easy to spot. But they're one of my favourite springtime insects. They're just
And they
gorgeous.
like the great hyacinths, do
They
they?
do, yeah. They
Oh,
go for
right.
a real diversity of plants, but they seem to quite like ones that are near ground level,
Yes.
blue
We have
or white or yellow. So great hyacinths.
Aubrecias
Yes.
as well.
Soupy.
We have like this whole carpet of Aubriecia which seems to have
Mhm.
cascaded down this wall, and it always just goes for it in kind of late February, March time,
Mhm.
and we always see them just gently going round with
The bee flies.
One thing that you've got to
they're
watch
just
out, the best behaviour is to watch their egg flinging. So it might not be in the same part that they're feeding on from flowers. You want to be looking out for where the solitary bees are nesting. So that's going to be ground nesting bees that are digging into the soil. And you'll notice on a bare patch of soil, if there's a little volcano of earth and a hole in the top, that's the entrance to the nest. And if the bee flies are sort of buzzing around an area like that, they're looking for somewhere to lay their eggs. And these bee flies, although they're very cute, they're actually a bit sneaky. So they're parasitoids, and the female will lay her eggs in the nest of the solitary bee, and her offspring will actually eat the bees.
Oh my gosh, they're not so cute and cuddly
It's
after all.
No, I think
bug
I'd
world.
heard there was a dark side to bee
Yeah.
flies. I think your
Yeah.
granddad told me that because I was going on about how much I love them, and he said, "Well,
Not so cute and
no,
cuddly.
there's a dark side to them."
But yeah, it's all about maintaining that balance. So
Yeah.
we've got to have the solitary bees. They're very important, but the bee flies,
Oh
they're
my
pollinators, and they're lovely.
And they are cute. It doesn't matter what they're doing.
God.
They're just so cute.
You're
to
in
look at.
denial. You're in
Yeah.
absolute denial. They're too cute. Well, that's very cool. I like grape hyacinths. What are your other ornamentals?
Well, I love a good sunflower.
Yes.
Can't go wrong with some sunflowers, adding that lovely, happy bit of colour and awe, because they get
Any
so big.
particular type of sunflower?
I don't
Just
think I
the
know enough
traditional
about
tall
sunflowers.
yellow one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm envisioning.
Yes.
Right now.
Beautiful.
I do love roses because my granddad had a wonderful rose bed full of so many different varieties. I used to sort of help him with the watering of the roses, so I definitely have some roses in the garden as well.
Yeah.
A particular colour or just all
Yeah.
roses?
Oh, just some lovely reds and deep pinks and things. So he
Yeah.
had quite a diversity. So just that pop of colour would be quite nice.
He was handy in
Lovely.
the garden then, your granddad.
Yeah, he really was.
Oh,
lovely.
And then I will pick a wildflower that's also just absolutely visually stunning, and that's foxgloves.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I love foxgloves.
Absolutely
Bees
love
and
them.
lots of our pollinators love foxgloves as well. So got to have some foxgloves.
Do you have much of a garden at home?
No, I actually don't, and so this is why this is a big dream for me, because I would love to have one day. But I'm in an Edinburgh tenement in the middle of Edinburgh, so I'm in a flat.
Gosh, so you get your fix when you go into work then, and you've got those beautiful.
And people have joked
around.
about it with our biodiversity project and said, "Oh, this is Ashleigh's like garden."
Oh my gosh!
When Gardeners World came to me and with the idea that they pitched about filming us, they did say, well, it's like it's your back garden. I'm like, no, don't. We can't say that, because it's a very much a team effort. I may have initiated it and done a lot of the nagging in the early days to convince people, but it's such a team effort. We have people from many different teams, so not just the natural sciences team with the biologists, but there's people from our estates team that help do a lot of this and work with us to make it happen. So there's the sorting out the contractors that are coming in to cut the grass and do the maintenance on the trees. And then we've got our team from our colleagues from our learning team that help with organising events and linking up with the local community. And all sorts of other colleagues that just pitch in, because we've now got a biodiversity action hour where we do a bit of gardening as a group. We do it once a month. We do a bit of plant removal.
Oh, excellent.
We don't call it weeding because we don't believe in weeds, but we do have to remove some of the plants from the pathways and things when they're not supposed to be.
Well then, what would be your 5 edible plants?
Edible. I've got to have herbs. So I really love herbs, and I have grown herbs. I would have marjoram in there because that's also great for lots of our bees. I would have chives because I love the look of the flowers of chives too. I'd have mint and rosemary, and then maybe grow something else that's not a herb. Can I count blackberries?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, because again,
Anything you want.
the fruit is great for a lot of our butterflies, and obviously our birds too. But at the end of the season, you get butterflies and shield bugs and things feeding on the fruits, and then we can eat them too. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
a bit for me and a bit for them.
Well, that
Yeah.
sounds very good.
A lot of herbs there. Do you do a lot of cooking?
I do like cooking. I think I'd do even more if I had the opportunity to grow my own things
Grow
as
your
well.
own.
Absolutely.
So I'd start with herbs, but later on I'd expand and have a veg garden, all in good time.
Well then, what would be your one statement tree?
No, I do love an oak tree. So I would love, my garden's going to be huge anyway, isn't it? So yeah, let's have a really old, let's put an ancient oak in there.
Yes.
They support so many species of insects and birds and
absolutely
everything. So that would be fantastic. But I would also like to have some fruit trees, so some apple trees in there, some very old apple trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could have those as some special mentions for your edibles.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Pop those in. So apple trees is something you'd have.
Yeah.
Yeah, like an old orchard.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty. It would be cool as well because you've got a standing dead oak tree and then you'll have a live one.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to have both together.
It's like the grandfather.
Well then, would you like a pond or a pool, and what plant would you have in that area?
Definitely a pond.
Of course.
I love swimming myself, but I would adding a pond to a garden and you're instantly boosting the amount of biodiversity that you can encourage and support. So pond means I might get some water beetles and lots of fun things like that, and maybe frogs, maybe damselflies and dragonflies. Oh, amazing. So yeah, definitely have a pond, a nice big one if I can. And in terms of plants,
and what look are we going for? Are we going kind of properly submerged?
Yes,
not
a raised one,
not a kind of formed shape, just a random shape.
Or... Yeah, I want it natural looking.
Okay.
With lots of vegetation, lots of good pond plants, but I also want a bit of colour in there. So I do like irises, but I think I would keep it. What's a native pond plant there? Marsh marigolds. They're quite nice and yellow, aren't they?
Lovely.
They're a big hit with pollinators as well. So I think that if I had to choose one, I think that might be what I go for initially. But there'll be lots more. There'll be lots.
Yes, of course.
It's like the main one that you would have in there.
Yeah,
I do want some other things that would give some height though, because you want to have some nice places for the dragonflies and damselflies to perch, and then I could do my photography and
we installed a pond last year, was it?
Wow.
We live on a hill, as I say, and so we had to. You can't get a digger in or anything,
so far down.
We had to hand dig this thing.
Oh my goodness!
And we wanted it to go really deep, so that obviously a lot of the pond life can settle down there in the winter months.
Yeah, kind of cozy up.
It was just a mud fest. It was very clay-like, and we had attached a pulley to a plum tree at the top, and we'd have a builder's bucket at either end of this long rope, and then so Sweet Pea would fill her builder's bucket. I'd be at the top. She'd fill hers. Then I'd abseil down the hill, which would launch her up the hill to then chuck the soil into our veg garden at the top, and then I would fill mine, and then she would abseil down.
Yeah. I hope you videoed that.
We took a lot of photos.
I'm so bad with the camera. We took some photos, but then it wasn't long before life came, and every day we were out there going, will we get in life? And just fairly instantly we started to get things.
Have you got a pond at the centre?
No, but it is on our wish list.
I can imagine,
so we've run it past a few people, and it was met with reasonable interest. We have to sometimes feed these in slowly.
Yes.
Of course.
So we have got a potential area that we would like to target. We will have some more development on the site and potentially a visitor building at some point in the
Oh, right.
in the future, not anytime
Yeah.
soon, but
Yeah.
we would like to incorporate plans and designs around that would create a really nice first impression to visitors as well. So
Yeah.
a pond
Okay.
would be really nice.
That would be
Gosh,
really
it's
nice.
impressive what you've done there.
Yeah, incredible.
And it's continuing to grow.
Yeah, and also spread to our other sites. So the National
Yeah.
Museum Scotland actually has multiple sites. The collection centre is just one of them, and that isn't publicly accessible. You can book in for tours and things, but it's not open all the time. But our other sites are open. So our main museum has a roof terrace that the public can go up onto. So we've got some planting up there. But we've also got much larger spaces at the National Museum of Rural Life, which is over to the west, and the National Museum of Flight, which is over in East Lothian, so nearer to the coast. And those areas are now also doing similar to what we've done at the collection centre. So we were kind of the pilot project, and now those management plans have spread to the other sites. So they also have grassland areas that are being left and mowed differently,
Fantastic.
and are introducing yellow rattle as well.
Final question: what would be your favourite seating area to relax in, a drink to have, and a plant to have by your side?
Yeah, love a good seating area, especially on those like lovely summer evenings. It would have to be situated somewhere that's got a nice view of the garden.
Of course. Yeah.
And like maybe, so I'd quite like a creeping plant here to maybe like be going up a trellis on a wall. So it's got to be a nice warm spot. So maybe the seating area is near the house, near a stony old wall, because that would be a nice area to also be watching the bees that might be using that stone wall.
Yes.
And then, but maybe to have a creeping plant like honeysuckle or something, because that's going to give a nice fragrance.
Nice scent.
Yeah.
Of course.
And what do you imagine your seating is?
Oh,
Is that a bench or
I
a
think
loungy chair or a swing seat? Or
I think realistically, I'd have multiple seating areas, and one's going to be like a rustic old bench. But
of course,
for the longer durations of sitting, you need a bit more comfort,
a bit more cushioning.
Yeah, my grandparents actually had like a swing seat that they had like big cozy soft cushion covers that they would have to put on each day.
Gorgeous.
So I did love that. I'd love to replicate that one day. And it was
There's
huge.
Something about swinging, isn't there?
Yeah.
We need a bit of swinging. Well, that sounds bad. I won't put that.
It's very therapeutic to sit on a swinging seat.
It is. Thank you. Yeah.
It is very, very nice. And then what will you be drinking?
That depends on the time of day. If it's during the day, probably a nice cup of tea. But if it's a nice summer evening, I'm going to have a mojito, probably, with the mint picked from my garden.
Yes,
as well.
Of course.
Nice.
Perfect.
Yes, mojito in the evening. Lovely. Well, I'm going to read back to you your dream garden just in case I missed anything. You want to change
I can't wait for you to design it for me and create it.
I know. I want to get the blueprint going for this. So we're going with being in the UK, but we want a kind of mix of forest on one side, coast on the other. So you can be near the sea. Near the house, you wanted more of a cottage garden vibe, then you wanted some meadows. We're going for a fairly big garden, so a good few acres. But the boundary was going to be beautiful mixed hedges, maybe some beech hedges, then some standing deadwood, then some kind of laid down branches, holly, blackthorn, hawthorn, huge mix in there. Then you wanted a greenhouse for all your seedlings, with also the dual purpose of looking after the moth trap. Nice big old one. We're kind of going slightly old fashioned. Then 5 ornamentals. We had louses, grape hyacinths, sunflowers, roses, and foxgloves. Your 5 edibles were a whole load of herbs. So we had marjoram, chives, mint, rosemary, and then some blackberries as well. Your 1 tree was an ancient oak tree. We're going to have a special mention for beautiful orchard with some apples in there. Nice old trees. Then you wanted a pond, nice big one, very natural shape, nicely sunken in with, of course, lots of other plants for different heights, but especially the marsh marigolds. And then you were going to have a nice big swing seat in the sun next to a wall so you can keep an eye on the bees, with a beautiful honeysuckle going up the trellis, a cup of tea in the day, or a mojito in the evening.
Sounds great.
I mean, it does sound lovely.
I can't wait to have that garden.
Oh my
wait to get all my money to
one day
make that garden happen.
It will happen.
Well, we'll design
Fantastic.
it for you in the meantime.
Exactly.
It'd be amazing.
Thanks so much for your time. It's been really great chatting to you and lovely to hear all about entomology.
Exactly.
Likewise. Thank you very much for having me on.
That's been a good old chit chat with Ash.